You know what I was thinking, actually, is that it would be interesting to do a series of videos. Have you guys watched any of the Dark Souls world videos?
Mm-hmm.
It would,
where they describe the background of the world. And all that
it would be really interesting to do that for Diablo, because there is such a wealth of story and characters and just all this stuff going on in the background that I don't even think the wikis probably do it justice at this point.
It's true.
No, I think that 2 was probably at the most depth, though.
Yeah, that's part of it, is there's also a big tradition, a big history of that with the series, which is why it would be interesting, even though it's not part of the gameplay at all right now anyway.
And there's books, I believe.
Are there Diablo books?
Yeah, there's books.
Yep.
You know what also would be cool?
If we started
a
the podcast.
Oh God, I need a beer. Okay.
Oh my God.
Oh, no!
I'm sorry.
You're fired. All right, Dan, count them in.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
Hello and welcome to episode 85 of the Game Brew Podcast, the bi-weekly video game podcast where we sip delicious beers, discuss video games, and roll more nat ones than your body has room for. I am your host, Ian, the Cleric Richard, and I'm joined by Dan, the Bard Rots.
I sing fancy songs and give you D6s. Or D8s once I get to level 5.
Chris, the Barbarian Writes.
I will rage.
Allison, the Druid Van Dievender.
I'm going to speak Druidic for the rest of the podcast, so good luck, everyone.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Don't.
Will, the Rogue Shell.
I'm gonna stab some shit.
And today we are joined by special guest Noel, aka our fearless dungeon master Keady.
Hey folks, how are you all doing?
Welcome!
Hey,
Yay!
thanks for joining us.
No, thanks.
Please don't murder us needlessly for fun.
He is wearing his shirt to say if the Dungeon Master's smiling, it's already too late.
Love that. Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
So, perfect.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking with him about his company, Grim Games LLC, and checking in on tabletop gaming in 2020. But first, it's time for a beer. Uh-oh.
Why are you so bad at opening beer?
Listen, the struggle is real today with me for some reason.
Your can looks like a
He
yoo-hoo.
was juggling them.
Yeah,
It does look like a yoo-hoo.
I'm
so does
drinking.
Dan's.
Is it Black Flag?
No, this is a beer from a brewery called Dirt Farm Brewery. Dirt Farm is in Percival, Virginia. That's more like Bluemont. Yeah, it's a Bluemont on the can, but very small town. And this is Straw Golden Ale.
Oh,
It's a beautiful brewery. They actually make some really great beers. It's up at the top of the mountain. You can just sit up there and
What a
sip a
pretty
beer.
beer.
Which mountain?
It's on the Blue Ridge Mountains. Chris, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Steady Eddie from Union Craft Brewery.
Steady Eddie.
It's Union Craft is in Baltimore. They're one of the bigger Baltimore breweries, and Steady Eddie's named after Eddie Murray, who was a baseball player for the Orioles, and it's got his likeness on the can.
Oh my God, that mustache! I wish this were
That's
a
not
visual
that's
medium.
not just a mustache. That's a mutton chop, sir.
Oh,
A mutton stash,
package.
one might say.
It's a pretty strong IPA. I think it's got some whiskey barrel aging or something in it because it kind of has some of that taste, but it's pretty good. I like it. It's a lot different than your average IPA.
that's good. Get out of the comfort zone, IPAs. Stop living your comfortable life and go do something different. Speaking of different,
No, not different. I'm drinking an IPA that is not different at all. I'm drinking a Deschutes Fresh Haze
Deschutes?
IPA. So, yeah, Deschutes.
Deschutes.
That's what I said.
Scooties.
But yeah, it tastes like an IPA.
tastes
So-
okay.
Boom. But just fun fact, I'm almost out of alcohol in
Oh,
my
no.
apartment. So this
Oh.
is like one of 2 beers I have left because last night I had to finish off the rest of the liquor. Otherwise, it was going to go
Right.
bad.
Oh,
so-
right,
Right.
yeah.
Liquor goes
Oh,
bad.
well,
right,
we
yeah.
can't.
So important.
Can't have that.
The problem
Can't
with
have
leaving liquor around is if you don't start drinking it, eventually it evaporates. The angels take their share.
It's known.
Mm-hmm.
It is now.
That's true.
Allison, speaking of liquor, what do we got over there?
I'm actually not drinking liquor.
Oh, okay.
I'm drinking wine again because it's what I have. And this is Winking Owl Moscato because
Oh.
it was actually a gift for my birthday last month. My best friend Casey dropped it off at my door because it was at the height of COVID, and she didn't know that I was sick. So she actually brought me a birthday care package as a surprise thing and like left it at the doorstop and called me to come get it. And then she filmed me and put it on TikTok.
Oh, no.
But it was really sweet.
Okay.
So
That
she
is
got
really
this.
sweet.
It's Aldi wine. It's like cheap wine, but it's actually really good for a Moscato.
It's not bad.
Yeah. Well, and you know, only your best friends will take the time to deliver alcohol to your doorstep.
In a quarantine, it was very sweet.
That's a solid best friend move. And Noel, are you drinking with us this evening?
I am, but in classic Dungeon Master fashion, I thought it'd be fun for all important decisions to either be rolled for or decided by the group. So I have two secret beers here, and I thought you could either roll for it, and I would interpret your rolls as a group, or you can choose, for a bit of thematic stuff there, the Path of Pins or the Path of Needles.
Hold on, let me get my dice.
Let's roll. We're
Hold on, I need my D20s. Hold on.
Yeah. So, yeah, go grab your dice if you haven't already.
I have.
Yeah.
What are we rolling a d20?
Yeah, you're each gonna roll a d20, and I'll take it. We're gonna
Do we have any
that.
like ability?
What are we rolling?
Modifiers?
To it? Yeah, any modifiers?
Well, let's see. With this one, what were your classes again? You guys arbitrarily
I was a
gave yourselves?
barbarian.
Ooh, I'm a
Bard?
bard.
No.
Can I, if I sing you a song, can I give somebody
Yeah, if you
inspiration?
sing a
And also-
song, I'll let you have it. I'll let you have advantage. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. There once was a man named Noel who came on our podcast show. And he's gone. And he's gone.
That was it. That was too much.
Classic.
Couldn't take it.
Didn't I tell you? Classic.
Was that you leaving because
No, that was me
Did you
getting
put
kicked. I
sandwich?
told you at every
That
moment.
was the
because of your stuff dropping
that was the
off?
thing.
Yeah.
There was the perfect
Right? I
moment
told you
for it
every
for it to
time.
cut out. So DM Daddy, can I have advantage?
You may. I didn't hear it, but it sounded great to start, and then
it was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and roll, and we'll take it. If you collectively get above the DC, I'll take the higher alcohol content beer.
Alrighty.
Dan has advantage, so go ahead and report your score first, Dan.
Yep.
Okay, so the first one I rolled was a
That's not
6,
great.
but the second one was a 15.
There we go. That's why advantage is important, kids.
Yeah.
I've got a 12.
That's why you always invite the bard.
The bard sings a heroic song to help inspire the group and rally them to the charge.
And also to flirt with all of the dragons and monsters.
Whatever
that
might
you-
be flirted upon, yeah. So,
Is it flirtable? Dan's it.
yeah.
Well, is this going to be?
Yes.
Can I use an intimidation?
You know what? Why not? Yeah. What you can
Since I'm a
intimidate?
barbarian?
Why don't you intimidate, and we'll see how well you do, and see how well this works in conjunction with the flirting that's happening.
Well, listen, no, you're only on here every so often, probably, for a while, so you should take full advantage of it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're a wuss.
Yeah. Well, no, that's fine. Great. Taunt the DM. That's awesome. Go ahead and roll with your advantage. Let's see what's
That's
going to
a
happen.
choice.
Yeah.
16 with advantage.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Ooh.
I rolled a 10. I am
Oh
present.
no.
Okay.
Oh no.
What's
I
he-
failed the team, as I always do with
What'd
die.
Did you nat one?
No, I tooed.
I do.
Oh,
I went to step. I went to
toad.
summon the powers of nature, and I crushed a wee flower.
I got a 5.
Story of
Five.
and a 5.
Five.
Ah, you guys.
Rogue's just eating chips loudly in the back. So,
You should probably
You
kick me
have-
from the party.
all right. Well,
No idea how.
I put the DC at a very meager 10. So collectively, you beat it. So tonight I'll be drinking, at least
Good
to
work,
start for now. I got a Harpoon special beer. I got Bandito. It is every year Harpoon has a homebrew challenge or showdown called the Owner's Cup. So this
How
year
fun.
it is a New England IPA with mango, pineapple, and hints of real jalapeno, along with Citra, Mosaic, and Falconer's Flight hops.
How
awesome.
cool is that?
That's awesome.
It's,
That's
I think Flying Dog does something similar where they have their workers kind of like submit recipes basically, and the best of them will
Right.
become an actual beer that they sell.
So this is
Yeah.
my beverage now. You can hear me pouring it. Like good frothy action.
That sounds really good.
You know what? I like jalapeno in beers because it's not super spicy. Like you get more of the actual jalapeno
Yeah.
flavor in beer than you do the spice. with
Although
it,
I do,
as opposed to like Yeah.
I do like a spiciness in my beer as
I
well.
do. I want it to bite me.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I was really trying because Harpoon's pretty close to where the Boston
it's
Boston
beautiful.
Convention Center is, correct?
Correct. It's also one of the places where I had one of my game nights.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh,
I was trying to go there
Fun.
while I was up there, but it was mobbed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I guess maybe we should talk about why we're talking about so many D&D things.
That's important.
Sure. Okay, let me give you the quick elevator pitch then. My name's Noel Keady. I grew up in and around the Boston area. I started my own company, Grim Games LLC, last July, so coming up in 1 year. And the quick background on me, I grew up around Boston my whole life. I've got parents who are international. I went to school for film at Emerson College, and that was a good few years ago. And up until I started my company last year, I had worked pretty much the moment I graduated college until last year in various roles, some of them overlapping, at the New England Aquarium, helping with, primarily towards the end, with managing over 1,500 volunteers and interns for the institution.
Wow.
The primary backbone of the workforce. So that's a little bit about me.
Cool.
Dungeon and aquarium master.
Dungeon and fish master, yeah.
That's awesome. And so Grim Games, as far as I understand it, is sort of like a boutique DMing service. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is now, thanks to quarantine. But initially, I mean, the quick version, we can go into a little bit more if you've got questions. But basically what happened was I had some ups and downs in my life, as people do. So I graduated Emerson, and I'm looking at this career in film. I'm the next Spielberg. I'm the next person, whoever. I'm going to write the best stories in the world. And I came home for family reasons. My mom actually got sick with cancer. And so
Oh my gosh.
I came home, and like 2 days later, I'm like, what do you do? Like, your dream has been side-railed. I'd always planned to go back to LA, and I just stayed at home, and I was just there. I wasn't going to leave. And I started volunteering at the aquarium, and I fell in love with it. And one thing led to another. But then a few years into the job, as much as I loved the aquarium, I realized I wasn't applying myself to what I wanted to do in life. I needed to actually apply. You just fall into that monotony of adult life, and you watch as years go by. It hit me one day. Someone invited me over to a board game night, and I had not been into board games since childhood, like since Monopoly. Like most things, I fell madly in love with it. There were like 18 of us in a tiny apartment, and it was freezing cold. There was no heat. And we played Dixit, and I fell madly in love with it. And
Yes.
So, flash forward a little while later, like a year later, I walked into a bar and I asked the manager, I was like, "Okay, can I have the room upstairs? Can I have it for a game night? We want to play board games here." He's like, "Sure."
Yeah.
It's like $1,000 to rent the room for. I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "Tell you what." How many people do I have to bring here for you to give us the room for free? And then flash forward, that was 6 years ago, and they had one of their best sales night ever based off our kind of community game nights we do there, like 4 or 5 times a year.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then because of that, I just started to cite Grim Games. I just started doing board games for team building exercises, or for fun at bars, or for people online to do like more episodic storytelling. So that's how Grim Games got started.
That's super cool.
Do you feel
I
like,
really like that.
do you feel like it was your connection to storytelling that brought you back to tabletop gaming? Or is that just kind of like a side thing that leads your journey back into DMing? Like, because I feel like there's a really strong connection between storytelling in games and storytelling in the film industry.
It's very much story. Story might be my true north, my North Star. I adore stories. Both my parents were Irish. I spent most of my life growing up, seeing with them. We have huge families. My dad was one of 12, my mom was one of 6. And they would just share all these different stories. And when you're in Ireland, like, especially if your family's from there, I don't think people really get it when they watch film and TV and media unless you've been there. Like, everyone knows everyone, period. It's even more character than anything, and everyone has stories. I went back last year for a wedding for my cousin, and I walked into the town, and I hadn't seen my family yet. I hadn't hooked up with them yet. And, like, random strangers like, "You must be Noel." I'm like, "What?" And they're like, they're like, get in the truck. We're going now. And like whole stories about holding me as a baby the first time I visited there as a child. So like stories have always been a part of my life. And for me, especially as a really little kid, I was not as outgoing as I appear to be now. I used them as escapism. I absolutely loved fantasy. I would consume books at home, and I would play video games, and I'd play card games, and anything that held my attention for a while. And
Sure.
I just made fantasy worlds in my mind, and it was really a good refuge for me all through some very troubling times. So,
Do you use a lot of like family, like Irish background when you're building games and worlds and characters ever?
I use not just the Irish. I use pretty much everyone I know as basis for characters.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, I have this. I had this one gentleman who I grew up with. I'll change everybody's names here, so they're not going to get upset if they do listen to this. But
Attaboy.
his name, we'll call him Reginald because I like the name Reginald.
Reginald.
Ooh, me too.
Reginald was this older drunk, basically. He was a good friend of my father's. He was a mechanic, good-natured, heart of gold. But the dude just crushed beer, like too much. Like I spent a lot of my youth at even like 12 and 13 where he'd be in my house drinking in my kitchen till like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. And then later on, as I became an adult, like he lived a few blocks from my house, like he'd be out drinking and driving, which is terribly dangerous. So like,
sure,
I would have to like call the police on him and move him here. And like, he was the basis. It wasn't entirely, it's not just like this person directly translates to this, but a lot of that kind of conflict and that kind of idea and that like, one of the things I really don't like in stories, I don't like very static, plain, good guy, bad guy characters. I wanted compelling characters.
Yeah. Right.
So I wanted to have, like, one of the kings I came up with for one of my short one-shots was this king that, like, was a conqueror, very Robert Baratheon style almost in many ways, and he was just sad. Like, he'd lost so many people in his life, and he'd fallen into this, and, like, there's no...
Kind of Bloody Baron-esque.
Yeah, there's no easy solution to figuring out how to navigate this person. You don't just bring in the MacGuffin and fix it. Like, how do you help this person? And that was based on him. And then I've got jokes and stories and events, and they're all based off different people, and some of them are chimeras of people. So yeah, I use a lot of folks I know in my life, and I've met a lot of people.
Yeah, I feel like one of the things about Dungeons and Dragons that for me, from a character standpoint, is difficult, is building a character that you know can change and then actually having that change happen, right? So many times people come to D&D with like, I'm this guy and this is the character type and this is what he is. And I feel like as a DM, maybe like, is it part of your job to change that character, or does that happen naturally throughout the course of their adventures?
You know what? I've never had that compulsion towards forcing changing the characters. I'm actually quite lazy. So we'll get into that more, but I have always been, especially with my screenwriting at Emerson, I have always, even before I read The Lazy DM and all these other books on preparing for things, you just remember two things. All stories, the heart of any story is characters. And the heart of all stories worldwide is conflict. And there's a lot of those transferables across, no matter what culture or what part of the world or what you're telling. So when my players start doing stuff, I was just sitting there and just remind myself, be open, observe. So I spend less time talking and I'm watching them and seeing like when the kind of light goes on their eyes or when they glaze over. And I just ask myself, what would be compelling here? Even if it's completely off the rails, like out in the middle of the woods, and I'll just throw out a conflict. I don't care. I'll make it up later. They don't know what's happening behind the screen. They don't know what I prepared. And if the rules get in the way, I'll just make them do certain roles. And it just looks like everything's going the way I planned it. But at the end of the day, like, I just follow their cues. Like, I see what excites them. I see what compels them. I see them when they're having a tough moment. And I'll just push a little bit. Or a little bit more when I have to sometimes, and that really makes a good story.
Do you have like a specific example of a campaign that you've run that's like that has gone a little bit off the rails that has been better for being organic in that way?
Yeah, I ran a heavily modified version of Tomb of Annihilation, and that for classic D&D players is just a meat grinder, like get to the jungle, fight the zombies, do the traps. Most of my players for my group, so they be for the ones for the company or just for friends and stuff, are very new to Dungeons and Dragons or role-playing in general. And they spent, there's a timer. Tomb of Annihilation is like, you have to get to the dungeon, like, or all these souls the world over aren't going to make it to the afterlife or be consumed. That's a big part of this thing. But they never got to that. They never even left the first city. So the story just became about the people in the city. Like, it's almost like when people move in the real world to a new city, and at first you're very much strangers, you're very alien to the world, and the more you know, you learn more about districts. So I went from having the map of Nyanzaru and then just completely throwing out huge sections of it and having to make new parts of it and like really flesh out their neighborhood. Like they got more involved with like voting for their local mayor than they wanted to do like the story. And I'm like, that's fine. So they got very involved in dinosaur racing. And that one side mechanic was meant to be like rolls and see if it's fun and do betting and get some advantage. Like they made their own team. We have t-shirts. They were the Pterodactyls. It was like almost like Hanna-Barbera's Wacky Racers was what we based it on. So that was you miss out on that if you don't stop and smell the roses.
I feel like that's Dan when we played our thing. You were just like, that's not where I thought you guys were going to go with this.
Yeah. So I'm the resident DM in this group. So
A deep bow.
we always acknowledge other DMs.
There was a doffing of hats. That's very formal for
Audio
somebody.
medium.
Basically, you any other DMs, you just kind of walk up to and just say, "So how your murder hobos doing?" And it's like, oh, fine. The thing that I love about being a DM is like I love making a story and then seeing how the players change it. Like, if you're a listener, if you listen to the Gamers of the Game Brew podcast, Dan, who's on that, is a sorcerer in my long running campaign. I guess they're going on 3 years now.
That is where you got your title of DM Daddy. It's true.
DM Daddy. That's what they call me. Daddy.
I've never.
But it's just with him and those 3 other people. I sent him a message yesterday because I'm always worried that I'm like, I hope you guys are liking this, because every once in a while it gets really emotional now since we're deep into their backstories, and I find that kind of cool. But also sometimes you just have to let him, let your cleric become a pet detective, because that's just what he wants to do.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Yeah. Do you have a preference of which system you use or which platform, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I've been using 5th edition because and a little bit of backstory about my playing Dungeons & Dragons. I started Dungeons & Dragons in 3rd and 3.5 edition in high school. So a little bit of backstory in my life again here too. So my mom passed away from her cancer when I was 25. I'm going to be 33 in a few weeks. My father passed away from the exact same cancer when I was 15.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
No problem. It's just, that's life. That's how things happen.
Yeah.
And so basically my first year of high school, I was still very much the older version of me. I was very small, big bowl cut of hair, rail thin, was very introspective, didn't really want to talk to many people. And I joined our theater group at an all boys Catholic Jesuit prep school. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I started joining it. Became to be very comfortable with people. And I give a lot of my dungeon mastering basis and also basis of being more extroverted to our dungeon master. Sean Murphy was his name. And he wrote we played every day after school for a couple hours before we did theater practice for 4 years, and then another year after high school for a while. So we had the one story that he actually wrote everything down and then submitted that for his final project for high school. And I loved it. So that was my background in D&D. So that's how I got started. And then years went by. I went to college. I was busy. Emerson's very busy, as Chris knows. There's a lot going on. And then a friend of mine called me up 5-6 years ago, 7 years back. I forget how long it was. And he's like, "Hey, do you want to come play D&D today?" And I'm like, "You know what? I would love to. I'm looking for that thing." And this is before that board game night I went to. I was like, "I'm looking for that thing." And I came over and they had Pathfinder set up on the table, not D&D.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
okay,
and then
good,
and
yeah.
and he was like, "I've never DM'd before. We don't have a DM." And he just shoved the DM's guide into my hand. He's like, "Do it."
Oh my god! What?
And I had no prep. They were all sitting ready, holding their dice and looking at me with a group of people I was never there before. And I was like, "What?" And rather than scoff at it, I was like, "Okay, I'd never DM'd before." So I just sat down. I was like, all right. I just started reading the page, and I kept apologizing. Remember that? Sorry, reading, processing, buffering. I think you roll. And they did that, and they had a decent enough time. We played it, and then after I left, I was like, Nelson, what the hell, man? I wanted to play today. But then it got in my mind that it's I went to school for writing stories. Why wouldn't I DM? And then the seed was there. So to very long answer to your question, I use a lot of 5th edition. Most of my players are brand new, and I think 5th edition is a great marriage between complexity and simplicity. And
Right.
No, go ahead. Finish your...
I was just going to say, I also use... I help kickstart Kids on Bikes, which I think is a phenomenal roleplay system.
Oh, yeah.
Wait.
Oh, it's so cool.
Okay.
What is that?
Okay, so yeah. If you could walk us through that.
Kids on Bikes is basically... It's another kickstarted role-playing type game, and a lot of newer role-playing games have moved away from... D&D isn't a board game. It's a set of laws, like a country has.
Right.
Newer roleplay systems are just stripped clean. They're down to the simplest, barest storytelling things required. So at most you might roll once or twice in a storytelling session. So Kids on Bikes is basically Stranger Things, or It, or Stand By Me. It's just you play a group of kids, teenagers, or adults fighting a supernatural entity that's way more powerful than you. But you have group control over one powered character, like your version of 11 from Stranger Things. And the two big hallmarks of it is a lot of the narrative control is shared amongst the group and not in the Dungeon Master's control. And they take a lot of control over creating the world to start. There's an intro session that is collaborative, and I really loved it.
That's sorry, that's a lot like Monster of the Week.
Monster of the Week.
Yes,
exactly
I really
like
enjoyed
it.
it.
Yeah, is that? Yeah, I was gonna say, is that powered by the Apocalypse? Does that use the Apocalypse system for the dice rolls stuff?
No, it's got its own very simplified system, but it's very similar.
Okay.
Like those are the next two things I was going to mention. Like I really love those ones, and I did play a couple of White Wolf sessions as well, but I haven't DM'd anything yet. So
now you're talking my language. We played when I was younger. We would play White Wolf all the time, and I really miss that sort of marriage between a very narrative base like there is in Monster of the Week and something that does still have some meatiness to the roles, but it's like to me it was easier to understand than 5e.
Yeah, and so I've actually I just do what I want as a Dungeon Master or Game Master, so I will take rules from different systems and smash them in, as long as I've talked about before with my players and they're all fine with it. And a lot of times, like I said, they're new players, so they don't know what's happening in the background. As long as they're having fun, they're happy with it. So
Yeah, and that's something I experienced when we played Monster of the Week. The few times I've tried to play D&D, it's so overwhelming because there's so much, and I really had a hard time just focusing on the narrative and having a good time. Like, I was afraid that I was going to do something wrong because there's so many rules and things to follow, and I love the simplicity of that, especially for somebody, whether you're a younger player or you've never done it. Oh man, it's so much more approachable, and I got into Monster of the Week, and I had fun, and I didn't have to worry about all that extra stuff. You know, I just participated, and it was great. Yeah, it was like training wheels.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of pro or lifetime D&D players would scoff heavily at some of my play style, but from working at my former job at the aquarium here in Boston, I learned very quickly on and also at Emerson, if it doesn't work, get rid of it. I don't care what the paperwork bureaucracy says. If it is not working in the moment, throw it out. Throw it out, because if you kill the pacing or kill the mood, that you're only there to have fun. These are friends of yours or clients of yours. Like, throw it out and do whatever works in the moment. Just make an improvised call.
It's a game. It's a game.
Do you prefer to work with new players, or why is it that most of the people you play with are usually new?
I've got a little bit of a cult of personality. So when I was first starting just the pro bono game nights, a lot of it was just me trying to get a bar space to play games. And so it was a lot of me just building hype, like being that campaigner and hype builder. So I literally went around work and like popped into different offices because I was kind of like the social buttery of the aquarium. Part of the reason I got hired from
having trouble imagining
butterflies aren't in aquariums.
Part of the reason I was there for so long and got hired into the role I got hired into was because I knew everyone. I was the bridge between all departments and all worlds. So I kind of just hijacked everybody, and that's why I got a lot of new players who were excited about it, and then they got new players who want to be excited about it, and then it just kept coming in. So I think it was very much what you were just talking about there. Like, I removed that fear of screwing things up or of breaking it or, ruining the thing, and be like, no, we're here to have fun. Like, do you like having fun? And they're like, yes. I'm like, then you'll enjoy this. Come sit down.
So we're going to wrap up here in a second, but I just wanted to close with a question. Do you, what one piece of advice would you give to people who are interested in becoming DMs or brand new DMs?
Just do it.
That's a heavy question.
Just do it. And, like, very Nike
Sponsored
about
by
it.
Nike.
Yeah. I think I'll circle around back to this in a second half if you got more questions, but really, I have been failure to launch for a long time. Like, I spent a lot of time doing aquarium not pursuing the things that I was excited about because I was fear about not being perfect or failing at what you're doing. A lot of creative professionals, especially in creative fields like this, at the end of the day, you're going to make mistakes every single day, and you will never stop making mistakes. So once you acknowledge that you will mess up, you can't not do what you want to do. And as long as you're open to changing and learning from certain mistakes here and there and knowing you keep making more, just do it. Just jump into it, find a group, find friends, let them know that you're all in it together. And then outside of your little fantasy campaigning characters, you as a group is something else that you need to manage as well, which I think like a lot of DMs don't look at it. Like, you need to manage those relationships like a group. So just do it. Yeah. Get in it.
Do you do a lot of voices?
I do, actually. I try to, and I try to make at least characters that I like. Again, like, just do it. Like, if you screw up a voice and it's not exactly what you want, people love it. Like, if you try to make the big bad dragon's voice sound awesome and Smog-like, and you come out squeaking, your voice cracks, I've literally turned that character to be like, this is an adolescent dragon. Like, he's finding his way in the world. Like, it's a new avenue for the story.
Love it.
Recently, my favorite's been... my group has been playing 2 campaigns at the same time. So we're doing Tomb of Annihilation and an extension on Horde of the Dragon Queen. We started on Lost Mines and have just been continuing doing different modules. But one character I have is like this plucky little halfling, and then my other one's like this forge cleric dwarf. So like I was playing one and I would just like be doing the plucky little halfling voice, and then I would just be like, oh wait, shit, I'm not that person right now. And it's just like two characters, so like I feel like that's super difficult for you guys.
It's a lot. I mean, it's a lot, but also the weird thing is just every once in a while, whenever you start talking in the wrong, like as the wrong person, then you just have to go, wait a minute, that's not what he sounds like. He sounds like this, so he's gonna be over here.
Do you guys have a list of NPC names for when the inevitable question of what's that character's name comes up?
I will stall and hit a generator of any kind, or I keep a generator in hand. Otherwise, like the pre-written modules, or if it's one of my homebrews, I will keep a list of like, this is the Styler region. Like, these are a bunch of first names, these are a bunch of last names, and I just cross them out as like, I will go through them.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
Oh, you do more than me. I just they say, it's like, oh, what's your name? And I go, my name is
I've got a name, and it's a good name.
Terry, and I'm your bartender. Terry.
I have realized that my players do catch me, some of them, so I'll have those lists, and it'll be like Ragnar, son of Orthax. Like, you get the names that are fitting for the setting, but if they ever catch me unawares or I can't get the list quick enough or whatever it is, like, I'll give them just a regular world name that just pops in my head. Yeah, well, like, Jeffrey, and those become their favorite characters.
They do.
So like,
My name is Jeff.
So we have a Dragon Heist game in which they own Troll Skull Manor, and they really wanted to run the bar and have a running bar, and I couldn't come up with a name quick enough for their bartender, so it became Jimmy the Centaur. They wanted the Centaur, and that's the thing. If they ever pointed on me, I'm like,
guys.
great. I throw it right back on them. I do a lot of narrative control. I'm like, they're like, well, what's the name of our bartender? I was like, you tell me. Pick the race. Tell me what it is. Come up with it now. And I put them all on the spot and switch the spotlight, and then they make a character, and then it's usually them wanting to see me do something. And then if the character becomes troublesome, I'll have them vanish for some reason, and then I'll write a quick backstory between sessions. And like, this is why Jimmy went to go visit his family. Yeah, like.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Jimmy's fine. He went to go visit his family. They're like, well,
Yeah, we
Totally
Troll
not
Skull Manor turned into Dragon Bones Bar and Grill in my.
yeah.
It's an orc dragonborn fusion restaurant.
Oh, very nice. Oh my god, that cuisine must be heavy on the gullet, right?
It's spicy.
Yeah,
For sure.
It's very spicy and meaty.
Yeah.
It's very, very
Do they have
hefty.
an eating challenge?
We haven't been back to water.
Eat
for a
this
while.
whole cow.
We should do that. We've been talking about franchising into Baldur's Gate, though.
Consume this whole thing here, and you get to eat here free for a year.
Yes.
Sorry.
Also, kids eat free on Thursdays.
Yeah.
But no halflings.
Hey.
So we're going to go ahead and take a break at the half. We're speaking with Noel at Grim Games LLC. This is the Game Brew Podcast. Stick with us. Hi, everybody. Ian here. Just wanted to check in to say thank you so much for listening to the show. We really appreciate your support. Couple of things real quick. If you want to come chat with us on our Discord, you can find us by going to bit.ly/discobrew. If you want to support us and also get some really cool games every month in the process, you can do that over at bit.ly/gamebrew. And then one other thing that's actually really exciting, we have a Netflix movie night coming up this Friday, July 17th at 8 p.m. So if you want to come chill with us, watch a movie, have some popcorn, drink a couple beers, hang out, that's this coming Friday, July 17th. So definitely come and join us. Okay, that's it for me for now, and hope you enjoy the second half of the show. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye. Hello and welcome back to the second half of the Game Brew Podcast. This dirt farm straw golden ale is really nice. It's a little peppery. It's like sweet and peppery at the same time.
How are you gonna farm dirt?
That's the thing. It's not a farm at all. So it's a dirt farm. They farm dirt. It's not a farm.
Just dirt.
So there's dirt in that.
There's
beer?
only dirt.
Fun fact, Allison loves the flavor of dirt, so please tell me there's dirt in
You're eating dirt.
Oh my god!
You eat dirt?
No, when I was a kid, I did. I eat potting soil. It's probably why I'm so messed up now.
Oh, yeah.
But you know the Birdie Bot's every flavor beans, the ones that say dirt, totally taste like potting soil. I love them. It's so dumb. Welcome to me.
Wowee.
I had
And he's gone. He quit. And he's back.
Oh, no. And he's back.
I was dating a girl for a while who also liked the taste of dirt, and she would like get the little like mushrooms that are like fresh, and they would have like a little dirt on them. She'd be like, "These are the best," because sometimes you get dirt clumps with the mushroom. Like
We talked about this, you and I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot
Anyway,
believe
sorry.
this is a
to
thing.
each their own.
Yeah, right.
Sorry. Random fact.
Noel, are you drinking the new beer now, or are you still on old beer?
You know what? Give me half a second, and we'll see.
All right, we'll come back.
Anybody else have beer updates on drinkability?
I'm
So
drinking
I
them.
can fit
They're tasty.
half a
I drank
bottle.
the Deschutes real fast, and now I'm on to leftover sour monkeys.
I can fit half a bottle of wine in this. And
These
so we're
monkeys
doing
so
great.
sour.
Yeah. This next beer is by Fort Hill Brewery, and it's called Ministry of Mischief. And it's got Guy Fawkes on the cover here.
Oh,
But
wow.
It's an orange blossom honey pilsner.
What a gorgeous can.
Right? Beautiful.
Also, what a gorgeous flavor
Profile.
description.
Yeah. We're gonna get into it right now.
I want to. Oh,
Let's
he's
just
slowly.
jump
I'm gonna
into
do my descriptive voice. He's slowly pouring the beer into the glass. He licked the top of the can.
It looks like beer. I helped.
He's taking a first sip.
Savoring it.
Oh, yes. Oh, he's smelling it.
Oh, it's good. It's a bit warm. It's been up here for a while, but this is good.
All of that, and we get, it's good.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah. That's you kill the tension. You just cut the legs out from under it.
You know, they do say with beer that you should drink it not like super cold anyway.
Yeah.
Really?
So that's like a very American way to drink beer.
Well,
It's like
Irish
I
as
want
well.
Yeah?
my beer as cold as the Rockies.
Well, because in Ireland they didn't have refrigeration for pubs for like a long while of history, so you would drink Guinness warm. That's how I started drinking Guinness. I started drinking young too, so.
You are Irish, so that makes sense. Makes sense.
Does that change the way it tastes for you? Like, do you prefer it one way or another?
It depends on my mood. Like, you like pizza hot, you like pizza cold. I don't feel like I've tried beers unless I've had them like at varying temperatures as well.
Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, well, that's it. Next time we're doing the podcast, warm beers only.
Yeah.
Oh.
Fair enough. Allison.
Microwave it.
No.
It'll be fine.
Allison's out of that, so.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can microwave it in the can. That's how they prefer it. That's the
Yeah,
exact-
right.
Okay,
Please
Game
don't
Brew
do that.
fact.
Actually,
please don't do that.
that.
We don't have lawyers. Thank you.
Please do not microwave your closed beer cans.
So real quick, we wanted to check in on the games we've been playing before we jump into the second half. What have we been up to, friends?
Has no one
Pick somebody in.
Oh, okay.
We're
I
going to
get
give you the
pick.
choice to do this.
I get to pick. Dan.
Me. So I've been playing Yakuza Kiwami,
What is that?
which if anyone hasn't played that, it is a remake or a remaster of Yakuza, which came out in like 2004.
Oh,
or
interesting.
something like
Okay.
that. Kiwami means extreme, or translates to extreme. So basically, they remastered the whole thing after Yakuza 0 came out. They took that battle system and put it into the first one, redid all of the graphics, added a little bit more humor and character to some of it because they could do like more voice, like more with the story. And it's really fun. If you really like beat 'em ups and also really convoluted like crime stories, you will love Yakuza. Like the game is so fun. There's a very dedicated following of people who love the Yakuza games.
Arkham kind of fighting, right? Directional.
No, it's more of a brawler. It's kind of like you get to switch between different battle styles, like Rush, which is fast hits, like a balanced one, which is brawler, and then one that's Beast, which is a lot harder fighting. So it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more like one of my favorite games from the PS2 era.
Are you talking about Tobal?
The Bouncer.
The Bouncer.
Yeah, like that, or
Bouncer.
the Bouncer. Yeah. Where it's like, there's like a bunch of enemies you have to beat up and then use health items and you can pick up weapons and do stuff. It's but also you can, go eat food, sing karaoke. You can go do a bunch of stuff just downtown. It's really fun. I love the game. I love the story in it because it's just so much drama. I love it. It's so good. It's so much fun.
Nice. Chris?
So I was playing Warzone last night, and I don't know if you guys noticed that I posted a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone should go watch this video. But
It was so funny.
We were playing Warzone, and I was having some graphic strugglies for whatever reason. At the end, we ended up winning the round. This was Alex played with us. It was his first night playing. Me, him, Bob, and my friend Tyler won a game. But at the end of Warzone, you get pulled into a helicopter, and they like show the team that won.
Yeah.
And as my name popped up on that, I disconnected, so I didn't get credit for it.
It really is the funniest,
The
saddest
video is the
It's
funniest
sad
thing.
and hilarious. I was.
It's the perfect.
It was
right
it
whenever.
was perfect.
Right whenever.
I'll share it all over the place so everybody can see it. It's so funny.
But I've also been playing a game called Warhammer Mark of Chaos. It's basically Warhammer Total War, but made 15 years ago. And I wish I had known about it sooner. It probably would have filled a void that I didn't know I had.
It's okay. It's there for you now.
Yeah.
Oh my. Oh my.
I have been playing. I've been doing a co-op playthrough with my girlfriend of A Way Out, which
Yes.
sort of made a big splash in terms of like games that are kind of like movie-esque, story-oriented. It's basically a prison escape game with these two guys who need to escape prison together, and various things ensue. And it's been great. It's been super fun. I love doing it couch co-op because you can sort of like yell at each other as you're playing through the game, and it's easy enough to pick up and play through and not have to worry about learning a bunch of new mechanics, which is helpful for someone who's not playing video games all the time like me. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm liking it so far.
How far into it are you?
What did we just do? Okay, so spoiler alert, you get out of prison.
You found a way out. That's it. You did it.
The end.
We just stole the car from the old people's farm.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I did like that there were also kind of silly like little mini games kind of dropped in after you get out of prison.
Oh,
It was fun for the little bit I've played.
Really? I thought there was some on the farm.
Not yet. He just stole. I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I got about there too, and I don't remember that. But it was an
Spoilers.
interesting. Yeah, I thought it kind of cracked open the door for other games like it. But I haven't been playing games since we last recorded. I have only been working on merch for us, but that's exciting.
I like merch. I like that.
Merch is
I like
is
merch
its own
too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Merge 2 is such a good game.
It's not as good as
Much
the
better
first
than
one.
the first.
New studios.
Yeah.
are going.
Yeah, it's okay.
Don't bother with the first.
That
game.
reminded
Merch
me.
2, the Selening.
That
Actually,
reminded
this-
me. I've also made a bunch of
Models.
a couple. Well, they're Legos. They made.
Ooh.
They made
Oh, are those
this is,
Legos?
yeah, Reinhardt.
Bastion. No, not
Oh.
Reinhardt.
Oh.
He's-
I got Diva over here now.
Oh, I love Diva. She's my girl.
I've been working on this monstrosity to throw at my players very soon.
Oh, what is that?
Ooh.
It is a well. I don't want them to listen to it, but it's scary, right?
Yeah.
It is.
Very
it is very
scary.
scary.
So-
I would be terrified to.
I love that.
Face
Very
whatever
cool.
that is,
Very cool.
which I'm not going to describe.
Terrifying.
In case
Yeah.
Man,
It's so
That,
hairy.
that bunny rabbit really.
It's a giant red herring.
How does it have so many scales, though?
How many heads?
Noel, have you been playing any video game or any other games aside from the tabletop
I
stuff?
have actually. I haven't done a lot of tabletop since quarantine because, part of my company's job was I literally wanted to bring people back to the table to do mano-a-mano faces again. Can't do that right now. So,
Right.
That's true. Yeah.
I have deliberately put a lot of long, story-rich, multiple 100-hour games on hold.
Okay.
So I've been deep in Red Dead Redemption.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
The sequel, Red Dead Redemption 2. My father was a contractor, so early mornings for me was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I used to stay up super late, and as a little kid, I'd watch movies that were R-rated or NC-17 when I was like 9 years old. So I grew up with like 70s and 80s action films, but my favorite was I watched a ton of Westerns. So
yeah.
I love the care and dedication Rockstar puts into making a living, breathing world. So I've just been taking it easy. I've been hanging around the Old West and not trying to collect everything all at once and really leaning into scratching and sniffing deeper and deeper into what's going on in that world.
I've heard that the first 15 hours of that game are super slow, but it doesn't sound like that's been a problem for you.
The first 15 hours, it's very much you're kind of locked in tutorial land. But if you really commit yourself to story, it's not that bad. And then a lot of folks just want to. I feel like a lot of folks in any Rockstar game just want to get to the part where they can just run around being miscreants in the lightest sense possible.
Murder hobos.
But again, I remind my D&D players when they're playing whether tabletop games or D&D or video games, it's often more rewarding to do the tougher version of the game. Like, you can kill everyone in a stealth game if you want, or if you go stealth, you get more out of it. You milk more out of it. So I've been taking a lot of campfires in the West and making sure I'm singing songs to my horse.
That's
important. It's Arthur Morgan.
Well, I actually sing to my microphone. I don't care. It helps me get in character that Arthur Morgan's singing to his horse.
I think that it's been interesting to see how video games have started to sort of appear in tabletop gaming land. There's a Dark Souls tabletop game, and Warhammer has always been sort of walking back and forth between video games and tabletop games. So I'm wondering, do you have a crossover tabletop game that you've played that you've really enjoyed that also has a video game connection?
Oh God, that's a great question. I'm just trying to think of which ones I have. You know what? I don't think there's a video game crossover. This is a big topic of discussion we had at Emerson a long time. It's transferring between medias. And I feel like that is a great conversation, and a huge section of the internet is just arguing over the book was better, the movie was better. And I'm I don't care. There's no comparison. They're different mediums. They're going to be different. Get over it. The one, I don't think there's any video game board game that I have that I don't think I have one.
All right. Well, let me reframe the question then.
Yeah.
Is there a tabletop game, or is there a video game that you'd like to see made into a tabletop game?
Ooh. The obvious answer would be I also been playing a lot of Final Fantasy IX.
Oh, okay.
Because I felt like that.
Yes. It's a good one.
I wouldn't talk about Final Fantasy VII right now, and I love it, and I can't wait to play the remake. But 9 has a special place in a lot of people's hearts as well, and I really loved it. It's very D&D focused. I'd love to see... Yeah. So those kind of Final Fantasy tactics games automatically translate over.
For sure.
I feel like shooters. I feel like shooters have...
interesting.
I feel like shooters are basically ignored because people just want that frenetic action. But especially with D&D, if you strip away fantasy... one of the things my new players have trouble with is that the mechanics of D&D are very constricting. Divinity Original Sin is very constricting, but it's a beautiful D&D game. That's exactly how it's supposed to play out. I feel and anyone who's played Warhammer knows how engaging that can be. So I feel like there's an entire world of people playing video game shooters and people playing Warhammer that have all this crossover that never meet. And that's what my company's all about. I'm you guys should hang out, right?
Because it's all strategy.
You should definitely do this.
So what is it about shooters that you think make good tabletop games? Is it the depth of the mechanic that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Because they are very different experiences.
They are very different experiences. I feel like a lot of people who really enjoy shooters love that Twitch shooter element of it. They like the frenetic adrenaline-based energy. But, if you look at it from a programmer side of it, they spend so many hours just making sure that everything works properly and that people aren't just breaking the game and mechanics-wise. People are always looking for what they love in other places. I feel like you should push yourself outside of your comfort zone. So the folks that are constantly feeding in that frenetic adrenaline-based energy, I feel like it would really enrich their lives to really take a genuine look at the mechanics of a hardcore tactics game or strategy game, and vice versa. So I feel like if, say, Warzone or Call of Duty or Gears of War were made into a tabletop game, there could be a lot of crossover between those communities if they're willing to talk about what they enjoy and share those experiences.
A Battle Royale tabletop game would be awesome.
Or a battle royale tabletop game, or a shooter where you have basic dice rolls, and it's coming to me right now. It's a very basic dice roll, but in order to depending on the type of cover that you're behind, or what or how quickly somebody else sees you, you have to roll a specific number, or lower or higher. I don't know, it depends. I have to think about it to get what type of shot you're looking off. Kind of if you take the VAT system or XCOM, be okay, I'm going for a headshot, roll a D6, and it's if you get a 6, then great, you did it, and you can move on to the next target. Or it's oh, you missed, so you could go for an easier shot and then and
that risk
like
reward
survive
kind of
or
thing.
like take them out. So
XCOM 2 let me down so hard. I was so sad by that game.
That's really interesting because I didn't click with XCOM 2, but XCOM, the original remake, I love. What was it about XCOM 2 that let you down?
You know what it was about XCOM 2 was that I like to play games in their hardest difficulties. That's the kind of person I am. I like the trudge. I don't want them to be over too quick. XCOM 2, I felt it wasn't it's the same thing as spices. If you like spicy food, it's not hot for taste or flavor or hot for challenge. It's just hot for hot sake. And if they explain how that works, like XCOM 2, it didn't mechanically, I don't know how to describe it, but it just like, you could set yourself up as perfectly as you ever could in XCOM 2. And there's huge debate over this on the forums. But like, if you did everything perfectly, if you're a player in a role-playing game or in a board game, if you do the right things and set yourself up right, there should be some probability in there. But the probability of failure was just drastically higher in XCOM 2, and it was just buggy to start when it first came out. So if you did everything right, you still had a 99% failure rate in everything you did, or would bug out. And it was just, considering the level of time and effort and energy you put into setting up each mission, you could dump like 2.5 hours into the first mission and then fail just because it was just not balanced. And I just hated it. Whereas XCOM 1 was you felt rewarded for doing your fucking homework.
Okay, so a lot of this discussion has been sort of focused around the mechanics inside of tabletop or video games, right?
Yeah.
But like, what other things are important for you to enjoy a board game or a tabletop game? Like, there's so many other things that go into it: the visual art, sort of like characters, background stories. What other things are important to you?
Theme and visuals.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I feel like theme is really solid, especially for me as an event planner. That's what my company does. My company's not out here to profit out other people's hard work. So I make sure that people know, like, this board game is made by these people. Like, they did this effort. Like, this person did the art. Like, I want people to know those things. Like, I want them to share them and meet those people so they can make more stuff. Because I want more stuff. I love it.
Love stuff.
But I also, like, if it's a solid theme, that's how my game nights really started apart. At first, my game nights were a way... I realized, like I said earlier, that I was the only bridge between departments in my company. And so you have all these wonderful people that have so much in common, but they're siloed. Our volunteers and interns only worked 1 day a week each. Full day. And so you have people doing the exact same job on different day of the week who don't even know each other's names. They don't even know they exist. So my original game nights were like, I can't have this anymore. I keep having all these like temple migraine-inducing discussions between departments because no one speaks. So it was like, I'm going to just bring it to game. They're not going to know they're getting to know each other. And it worked. They started like talking to each other afterwards. They started having something in common. So it was really the team building thing is what I started leaning into. Like, I could make a profit off this. I could go to companies. I could make it better. So theme, it helped because I made all my game nights based off themes. So the first really big one was a Halloween game night. And I dressed up like Scooby-Doo. And everyone, and our costume contest was come as your best Scooby-Doo villain. Like, make up a Scooby-Doo villain. Are you counterfeiting? Are you trying to scare people off their land? Like, come as a character. So the themes for those games were like Betrayal at the House on the Hill, which is very much D&D in a board game format.
Yeah.
Or like, really or different games like that. So my favorite one so far was I dressed up as my own version of Captain Ahab. And the invites went out like submarine briefing to submariners. And I had a battleship tournament. And the folks who won the battleship tournament would take part in a Captain Sonar game at the end. Which, I don't know if you played Captain Sonar.
No, what is that?
No.
All right, so Captain Sonar is a board game in which there's 2 teams of varying numbers of people. But say, if it's a perfect world, it's 4 versus 4. There's a captain, there's a radio operator, there's an engineer, and there's like a submariner. Like, just say those different roles there. There's no turns in Captain Sonar. But every action you take is dependent on someone else completing another action just before you. So it's kind of like those different drinking games like Flip Cup. Like, as well as your team is synergizing, you can get several turns ahead of folks. And it's basically a game where 2 submarines are trying to blow each other up. So the stress and the timing is what leads into it. So it becomes a huge event. Like, the whole group would watch the game play, and everyone's freaking out. It's a very stressful game. People love it. Because if they can synergize well as a team, they can get several turns ahead and they can sink the other submarine before they have a chance. So, and then you have to have somebody nearby as a referee or at least just a really good group. But I basically was like, play Battleship, because that's thematic. Now play this. And I brought music and I dressed up, and like leaning into that is what I think people look for. Like, it doesn't take much to make a board game into an event. So about crossovers, like the Jaws board game is excellent. It's a great board game version of hide and seek.
that game is so cool. Like the way that they laid everything out, just the like players versus the shark mentality.
Right.
Which, if you haven't, you should check out some gameplay of the Jaws game because it is great. Yeah. Or I don't know, we'll figure out a way to do that. But we could make it work. I don't know. Yeah. We'll figure it out.
So visuals and theme is the answer again. Like I think those really tie into it, and you can really add. Like go at home, make homebrew rules, make up stuff. Like I've done this forever. In high school, we had one game of Hearts, the card game. We played in our campus ministry office. We played the one continuous game of Hearts. We just kept score across all the games for 4 years. Mm-hmm. And at the end, the winner, at the end, we bought the winner, like a super fancy dinner where they got a limo together, like the whole thing. 4 years, every year. 4 years.
Amazing.
Yeah,
awesome.
We're like,
That's
just
great.
It doesn't take much. It doesn't, but like, just keep the numbers going.
So like that question brought to mind like really bad tabletop games I've played because it's like what made them bad for me, and you kind of talking about those things. It was the one that came to mind was Detective. It is like Detective, a modern crime board game is what it was called. And on the surface, it looked really cool because I love mysteries and I love games like that. Like Clue was my favorite when I was really young. And, that's melded into me playing all these detective video games and games as an adult that I just adore. So I grabbed it and it was
It's got a high ranking on Board Game Geek.
Seriously? I hated it. And maybe they fixed some of the problems. One of the problems was it had this like online implementation like that you could go in and it was like a database that was supposed to help you, but it was really poorly done. So maybe they fixed that and that could fix some of it, but the writing was also just lame. Just super lame for me. So maybe they fixed that.
I thought you were thinking, like, when you were talking about, like, board games that sucked, you were talking about, like, Monopoly or Chutes and Ladders or, like...
Do you folks know about the wave or, like that concept of the wave, like the next big thing?
Oh.
Yeah.
So we talk about that in Hollywood a little bit, and that's, like, I think right now the board game renaissance is really much in the peak, like the arc or the height of that wave.
100%.
And that leads to a lot of folks just pumping out content, just making games for game's sake. And that's not good. I feel like that's what your detective game falls under. I'm not sure I played that one, but yeah.
What do you think is in the future for board games? Like, do you think they're going to continue to expand? I've seen a big uptick in board games that are actually single player that you can play by yourself, which I think is really interesting. Mm-hmm. But like, what's your next big thing in board game land?
Interesting. Like I was just saying there, like I feel like I saw this board game wave coming. Like PAX Unplugged is still very new. Board games around for a long time, but like with the height of like Critical Role and D&D and just board games in general, like board games have always been big in Europe. Board games are big in certain families. Like I said, like New England is pretty like cul-de-sac and pretty like entrenched in its traditions as well. So I've met families that have like again, like the Hearts game I have a family friend that has this one Monopoly board game where they keep score across like decades now. It's been 17 years running. And so like it's every year on their annual trip to Maine, like they go up to Maine, they do all the outdoor activities, but there's always one day where the weather's not great and they sit down, they lock themselves in for an all-day version of Monopoly in which like fists will fly. And so like it's good. So what do I see happening for board games moving forward is like we're in the middle of that part period where like I feel like folks are just pumping out board games now because they were late, they were not early adopters. They didn't see the wave coming. So now they're just grabbing and trying to imitate, which is totally helpful and totally natural. The next big thing I see for board games, if it continues, is that either going to peter out and it's going to become back down to like some sort of what they call like a normal level, and people are just going to get used to it. That's going to become what the new height for the hobby is, at least for a while. Yeah. Or folks are going to really... like, there's certain areas where board games and board game cafes are really big, or board games are going to become much more ubiquitous like video games have. And I think the reason for that is like video games are really great, but there's something to say about online multiplayer, and there's something, especially with COVID and quarantine, folks loved being able to be lazy and be at home. Like canceling, I heard some comedian said canceling plans like heroin. I think John Mulaney said that.
Yes.
People like being at home, but people aren't alone. They're social animals. They don't like being alone. Like COVID's really shown that to people. So I feel as much as it's great to have multiplayer games, I missed playing couch co-op. And the fact that games started doing away with couch co-op irritated me to no end. I had furious like rage out moments in my own backyard over that. So I feel like that's why board games have had this resurgence, that people want to see each other again. even outside of COVID, before this started happening. So I feel like board games are become even more important for bringing people back together. And I feel like that's why like my company, Grim Games, might have a chance to stay established once COVID ends and once COVID happens. Yeah,
everything ends there.
Yeah, go back out and see each other again.
Yeah, I can dig it, and that's especially. I mean, I think it's interesting. We are seeing an uptick in kind of like the couch co-op brawlers again. Like
Streets of Rage.
Like Streets of Rage 4 just came out. The one that Allison was playing, River City Girls.
Yes, love that.
Was big. There's a lot of the like cabinet based ones are coming back into popularity. So totally, I agree with you 100%.
I'm here for it. I grew up with that.
The good old fashioned. I concur, and here's why.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite memories from video games are couch co-op from back in the like Halo 1 days. Like I used to spend entire weekends at my buddy's house. Like
you can't replace that.
You can't. No. It's and kids today like it evolves so quickly. They have no conception of what that was, and that makes me sad. Like it's not like whippersnappers, blah blah. For me, like gatekeeping and that kind of idea of like you don't know, like that irks me. Like I've always been the person I'd be like, I just want to show you the thing that I find that I love. I've always been like show and tell. This is what I love, and I want you to love it too. And if you don't, that's okay. But here's what I love.
Yeah.
Have you done much with like through the COVID stuff with something like a tabletop simulator or like the digital versions of tabletop games?
You know what? No, because I honestly, in a way, I understand people who like the tabletop games, but honestly, in a way, like those are folks who just really love like whatever game they're playing so much they have to play it, and I totally respect that. But for me, like I have my whole thing with the games, like I don't get to play a single game at any of my game nights. By the way, I bring like 50
you're just running
games.
Stuff.
I'm the host. Like I have to run around making sure that people are having a good time. I'm checking on people. I'm announcing awards. Like I have a very loud voice. I just boom like a drill sergeant when I announce awards. I have like superlative awards. I make up awards on the spot. Like in Sheriff of Nottingham, we had a come from behind victory because some guy smuggled a bunch of chickens. So we were just like, it's the Cock Smuggler Extraordinaire Award. Like there you go, boom.
Love it.
Like people love it at the bar. So no, I don't play any games, any board games on Tabletop Sim. Because I've been really just focusing on like if folks are stuck at home, they probably want that more RPG episodic experience. And I'm really just been planning events around like I talked about earlier, like the Captain Sonar or like thematic board game events for once the world opens up back again. Because I really want to like come out of the gate running.
Yeah,
that's cool.
A lot of material.
Yep. Have it in the can. That's definitely our motto right now too.
Yeah. You know, like get it ready.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the episode. Noel, do you want to do a quick shout out for Grim Games and tell us where we can reach you and find out more about the project and what you're working on?
I would love to. Thank you for that. My name's Noel Keady. People call me Loop online. It's Grim Games LLC.com. That's the website. It's 1M in Grim. And it's a very simple website. Like again, I'm a party of one. The whole company's just me right now. But shoot me an email. The contact information's on there. I'd be happy to talk to you. It's very a la carte right now. So like reach out. I'd love to get to know you all.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. And of course, we are The Game Brew. You can reach us at The Game Brew on the social medias, or you can join our Discord at bit.ly/DiscoBrew to let us know what kind of tabletop games you're playing during quarantine. Please do let us know. We want to see those things. And that's going to be it for us tonight. So say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody. No, you can't just wave. We can't hear what you do.
Yeah, good night, folks. Sorry.
That was perfect. That was right on time. You hit it.
It was beautiful.
Like a professional.